A multiple is when you take a number, such as 2, and you multiply 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, and see what numbers you get. So a multiple is multiplying a number by whole numbers. So starting with 1, 2, 3, and going up. So first example, list the first 10 multiples of each number, then we're going to find the least common multiple. It's kind of like the greatest common factor. Multiples are more than the numbers and factors are less than the numbers. So multiples are 4. I first start with 4, then multiply 4 times 1 and get 4, then multiply 4 times 2 and get 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 5 is 20, and you just keep going. And then multiples of 6 are first start with 6, then multiply it by 2, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, and 60. The least common multiple is what is the lowest number that they have in common, that they both have. What is the smallest number they both have is 12. Here's an example. Today, both high school baseball and school soccer team had games. The baseball team plays every 6 days, and the soccer team plays every 5 days. When will the two teams have games on the same day? So what we're looking for is basically you're finding the least common multiple of both of these. So I'm going to count off by 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, etc. And now I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And I'm looking for the smallest number that they both have in common. So that number is 30. So they'll have, after 30 more days, they'll have games on the same day. So this example reads, use prime factorization, factor trees, to find the least common multiple. I wouldn't find it that way. I think it's faster if you start with a bigger number and then write the multiples of this number and see which one of these numbers goes into 12, or that can be multiplied to get 12. So think of multiples of 12. Is 40 a multiple of 12? No. Is 80 a multiple of 12? No, you can't do 80 divided by 12. But you can do 120 divided by 12, so 120 is the least common multiple. And then 24 and 32. I take the bigger number, 32. 32 times 1 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. 32 times 3 is 96. And then which of these numbers divide into 24? So can you do, and I could keep going too with this. I could add 32 to this and get 128. So does 24 go into 32? No. Does 24 go into 64? No. But 24 divides into 96, so that's my answer. And then 9 and 15, take the larger number, 15, and write 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. 15 times 4 is 60. 15 times 5 is 75. Now start looking at which of these numbers, does 15 go into 9? Does 9 go into 15? No. Does 9 go into 30? No. But 9 goes into 45, so that's my least common multiple. And then down here, use a number line to compare the fractions. So when you compare fractions, you want to have the same denominators. These two are the same denominator. So if I have 0 on the number line, 1/5 would be right here, 2/5, 3/5 would be right here. So 1/5 is on the left, so 1/5 is less than 3/5. That's how I compare them. I want to make sure they have the same denominator. These two don't have the same denominator. So what could I do with this 2? What could I multiply 2 by to make it 10? So I can multiply this by 5 and this by 5 because 2 times 5 is 10. So the top is going to be -5/10 because 1 times 5 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, and it's a negative. And so now I'm comparing -5/10 and -1/10. So I make a 0, and this is going to be -1/10, -2/10, -3/10, -4/10, and -5/10. So -5/10 is on the left, so -1/2, which is -5/10, is less than -1/10. So you can't really compare fractions unless you have the same denominators. So let's look at these. What's the least common multiple of 3, 6, and 12? So what I do is I start with the larger number 12 and I list off the multiples. Well, the first number I get is 12, and 3 can divide into 12 and 6 can divide into 12. So I'm going to change all of these denominators to be a 12. So what I do is to get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4. So I multiply the bottom by 4 and the top by 4 to get 8/12. The middle fraction, I'm going from 6 to 12. So what do I multiply 6 to get 12 by? I multiply it by 2. So I'm going to multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2 to get 2/12. So now I'm comparing 2 8/12s, 2/12s, and 5/12s. They all have the same denominator. They're all positive. So the least number is 2/12s. Then the next number is 5/12s, and then 8/12s. I'm going to do the same thing with B. So B, okay, the denominator for -1 is 1. You can always write whole numbers as fractions by putting a 1 underneath it. So I'm going to change this denominator. I'm going to look at the least common multiple of 2, 4, and 1 is 4. So I'm going to change this to a 4 by multiplying it by 2. So it's -2/4, 3/4. I'm going to change the last fraction to a 4 by multiplying the top and the bottom by 4, which is -4/4. Since all of these denominators are the same, now I have to compare the numerators. So the number that is the smallest to the left on the number line would be that -4/4. Then it would go -2/4 and then 3/4. And the last one, I want to be able to look at all my denominators and figure out the least common multiple. So first I look at 10. Do all these numbers, can they all go into 10? Yes, they can. So my least common multiple is 10. The first number I don't have to change. The second number, I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. The third number, I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 5, because 2 times 5 is 10. So that's 5/10. And the last number doesn't change, -7/10. Now that I have all these denominators the same, I look at the numerators. So which of these is the least? Well, it's -7/10. Then it goes -3/10. Then it goes 2/10, and then 5/10. Okay, I don't have enough time in a YouTube video to do every single one of these, but I just want to point, let's do a few of them. So in order for you to, I don't want you just to convert these to a decimal. I want you to compare them by looking at the denominators. So let's do the first one. So 3 and 9. What's the least common multiple of 3 and 9? Well, it's 9. So I'm going to change this 2/3 to something with a 9. So if I go from 3 to 9 by multiplying by 3, I have to multiply the top by 3. So now I'm comparing 6/9 to 7/9. So 6/9 is less than 7/9. So the less than goes like this. Because now you just have to look at the top number and compare them. And let's do number 5. Well, they're both negative, so I'm going to compare the denominators. The least common multiple of 8 and 32 is 32. So I'm going to multiply the top by 4 to get 32 and the bottom by 4. So now I'm comparing negative 8 over 32 to negative 7 over 32. So on a number line, negative 7 is to the right, so negative 7 is greater than negative 8. And let's look at a mixed number right here, 2 and 4/7. So 2 and 4/7 I want to convert to an improper fraction. This is called a mixed number right now, mixed number. I'll write that down. This is a mixed number. It's a mixture of 2, a whole number, and a fraction. That's why it's called a mixed number. I'm going to change that to an improper fraction by multiplying 2 and 7. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 7 and then add the numerator 4. That's going to be all over 7. So 2 times 7 is 14 plus 4 is 18. So it's 18/7. Now 18/7 is definitely bigger than 4/7.